All wings report in.
HouseDog, standing by.
Mother Goose, standing by.
Lowtech Tuck, standing by.
Lock S-foils in attack position. Animal Squadron ready for battle.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Animal Squadron podcast. You're here with your hairiest host, Mother Goose.
And Lowtech Tuck. Back at it again.
Back at it again, boys. And we're here to talk about The Mandalorian Chapter 13, The Jedi.
The long-awaited, at this point, first appearance of live-action Ahsoka.
Right? I was so hyped for this episode. It still makes me so hyped.
Dude, honestly, whenever I watched it, I forgot how good it is.
Right?
I was like, there are so many little nuggets in here.
Yeah. It was, especially after seeing Mandalorian Season 3 and the Ahsoka series, this episode was so important.
Well, and also there's references to the Ahsoka series.
Yeah, like the droids.
Yeah, and also there's a Loth cat in the background, and
yes, I noticed that in the alley just running around.
Yeah.
No, so this watch through, now that we know that Morgan is a Night Sister, I specifically paid attention to see if there was anything that was hinting that she was.
Well, yeah, she mentions it. Well, no, she doesn't mention it. Ahsoka
does.
It.
Yeah, she says, during the Clone Wars, her people were massacred. So, I mean, could have been anyone, right? But at the same time, I feel like that was a really big hint that just went right over my head.
Yeah, I mean, because, honestly, which big massacre... Well, I guess there's two main ones in the Clone Wars.
Right.
And that's the Jedi and the Night Sisters. That's about it.
Right, and it definitely wasn't the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
The Twi'leks had it pretty rough during the war, but Morgan's definitely
they didn't get,
not
genocided, though.
Right, they didn't get genocided.
Yeah.
And Morgan's definitely not a Twi'lek.
Yeah, right. And so, I kind of watching it again. I'm like, man, I should have thought about that.
Same. Yeah. So a couple other points that I had was she knew about the Jedi and the Mandalorian, which isn't anything major, but we've got to remember that people of this universe aren't Star Wars fans like we are, so they don't know every little detail like we do. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was really interesting. She had a Beskar steel, which, again, could have been anybody. Ahsoka specifically said not to underestimate Morgan. And then she was successfully able to go toe-to-toe with Ahsoka. Just all these, not all of these are specifically Night Sister things, but when you put it all together, it's pretty obvious that Morgan was a much larger character than what I initially thought she was going to be.
Yeah, it's like they were trying to tell us.
Yeah.
But we just didn't listen.
We didn't see it. I literally was so mad when I first watched this episode. I was like, who's this random woman, and how is she fighting Ahsoka, kind of good?
Yeah, no, I just thought they were just going for, just a classic, samurai movie type thing. It's just she's just somehow trained.
Yeah.
She's just a good fighter, whatever,
Yeah.
But honestly, though, watching it this time, though, I really kind of felt stupid. I was like, wow.
Me too.
I can't believe I missed that. I'm an idiot.
Okay, but getting into the actual episode, starting off with Ahsoka was the right move. Teasing her in the previous episode, I went in, when I first watched it, thinking, okay, we'll see Ahsoka at the very end of the episode. The whole episode will just kind of be, finding her. And then, first scene, there she is, kicking butt. Hell yeah.
Oh, yeah, and also I just loved the, it reminded me a lot of the original Predator movie.
Yeah.
From the 80s, where it's just, you can't see her, but she can see them. And also just the, all of the shots whenever she kills someone are mostly from almost her perspective. It's still third person, but it's just almost from her perspective.
Right.
And I just thought that was just really cool. I mean, because also I love the Predator movie, so
Yeah.
I was just like, yeah, this is awesome. It's like Predator.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
something else I really liked is, again, I definitely believe that Disney needs to bring back dismemberment. But they did it really classy in this one where, like, yeah, people were clearly getting cut in half, but they, like, hid it behind trees. Or one guy gets cut in half, but it's from the shot from behind of the bell as he and the bell gets cut in half. So it's not necessarily how I would like them to do it, but it's better than lightsaber equal baseball bat.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I get your point. For me, actually, I kind of like it when they do it more artistically like that. The only reason I say that is because I do think that Star Wars should keep to its roots somewhat, especially with these main projects, in that their main audience
is for kids,
is children and families. Like that's their main audience. And so I think they need to be careful about
how they do it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I kind of like the artistic thing as a compromise.
Yeah.
Now, on the other hand, I do think with like maybe some side projects, like you could go more adult with Star Wars. Like we've talked about before, like a really gritty live action Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Like almost like Band of Brothers style or something. Like that would be freaking sweet.
Yeah, that one scene in Solo, they're in the trenches and they're fighting some random planet.
Yes,
they're fighting on some random planet. Make that a whole movie.
Yes, that would be awesome. But I do think with the main Star Wars projects, they do. If you're gonna do the dismemberment thing, I like the artistic thing because I do really solidly believe that Star Wars is at its base for families.
Yeah,
the main
I agree.
Are anyway.
Yeah. I agree that they need to be careful. My only thing would be Star Wars Episode 4 when the guy gets his arm cut off and there's some blood coming out.
Yeah, no, I mean that's a good argument. That is a good argument. But I do think that's also different than watching someone get cut in half.
Yes, no, totally, 100% agree.
I think someone losing an arm and like some definitely fake 70s blood coming out is a lot more kid-friendly than someone getting cut in half.
Yes, and Obi-Wan hadn't used his lightsaber in a while, so, it still hadn't warmed up completely.
Or also, I mean, I guess another good point is Darth Maul.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
he gets cut in half on screen. So hey, maybe you know what? Maybe, and then also like Jango Fett, his head gets chopped off. Like, maybe I'm wrong. I mean, maybe Star Wars does just need to just go for it.
I think what works with Star Wars is that the lightsabers are hot enough to cauterize, except for that one time. So there's not really any blood. I think that really helps.
And there's not like guts or anything crazy.
Yeah. But I'm all for the artsy kind of hide it behind things. If that's what Disney needs to do, go for it. I still I know this isn't our discussion about Kenobi, but like when Obi-Wan's hitting those stormtroopers and it's just kind of bouncing off them, it makes me sad a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. They need to decide with lightsabers, are they sharp or are they not? Like that's kind of what we need to, with like the physics of the lightsaber just needs to be static. Like we just need to know that and do it the same every time.
That being said, I love Kenobi. Fantastic series.
One of my favorites.
Give us season 2. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, we will actually do a real conversation on that one day.
Yes. Anyway, I'm so sorry. I got us on a really big tangent. I have a question for you.
Okay.
So Ahsoka kills all these guys, and she walks up and she's talking to Morgan, and they're having this interaction. And the whole time I was sitting there thinking, Morgan's super rich and has all these resources. Why is she on this nowhere planet, in a swamp? I'm not saying she has to be like somewhere like a city or anything, but like she could have gone to like any beach in the galaxy that doesn't have a New Republic eye.
Yeah.
Or like a super pretty forest but she just chose a swamp.
Well, I don't think she did choose it though. The only reason I say that is because they're very obviously taking control of it.
Right.
Because there's people in prisons, and so like the only reason to do that is if she's trying to take control of it.
That's fair.
And so I kind of think that not that she was made to go there by the Empire, but she was, let's say, contracted to do that.
That's
because
fair.
they saw how efficient her shipyard was, and maybe they thought that she could help, quote unquote, bring order to this small planet.
Yeah, for sure. Follow-up question then. Was there anything in this episode that might have hinted towards why she was on this planet? Like, what did the Empire need from these people?
I don't think there's anything covered in the episode, at least from what I can remember.
Yeah, I don't remember anything either.
It is also interesting that she got the Beskar spear.
Yeah.
I almost wonder if it was a town like with some sort of leader or magistrate or something, and she killed them and took their spear. Maybe that's where she got the spear. But the fact that she has a whole like small army of mercenaries, including her robots from the docks. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
The docks in Mandalorian. No, I mean the docks in Ahsoka.
Right.
Yeah, so I think to me it was more implied that she was there to, bring order to that area for some reason.
Yeah.
With the swamp, I mean, I think of the real world, and swamps usually have coal and fuel. So maybe it was a fuel thing, or maybe they had tried to lead some sort of revolution and this was their punishment.
Yeah.
For rising up against the Empire, and then Morgan just was chilling there, or maybe Morgan was ousted of out of her shipyard for a time. Like maybe at some point someone else came in.
Right.
And so she fled to this planet and happened upon this village that had everything she needed, and so she was taking control for that reason.
Just this is kind of where I ended up kind of a thing.
Yeah, I could see that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But my current theory is that she was contracted by the Empire just because they saw how brutally efficient she is.
Yeah, I could totally see that. The Beskar spear theory that reminds me a lot of the Lop and Ocho Visions episode, where the Jedi, this family that was like leading the town, they weren't Jedi themselves, but they were gifted a lightsaber for some reason. I can't remember. And it had been passed down, and I could see something similar with this Beskar spear.
That it was gifted to her at some point?
The spear, or on your theory, where like the original leader of the town was gifted it, and then she came and stole it.
Yeah.
And
so
maybe maybe it was like if she came specifically for the Beskar spear. I mean, it would kind of make sense if she knew that eventually she was going to have a run-in with the Jedi trying to bring Thrawn back. Getting a weapon that could fight a lightsaber, smart plan.
Or also maybe it has some sort of ritual that can be performed with it.
Oh, yeah.
Like some sort of magic.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever really seen the Night Sisters and what they could do with Beskar. They could have some weird magic up their sleeves.
Yeah. I mean, they already do magic with everything else. I mean, I could see it.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, my recording says 21 minutes, and we are still in the intro.
Hey, that's okay, man. That's just the way it is sometimes.
Totally my fault.
Like we talked about, this episode is just... It's massive. I mean, because also I guarantee we're going to miss stuff, too. Like it's
100%.
It's such just a massively important episode when you go back and watch it after watching Ahsoka. It just is.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so next we have them coming down in the ship, looking for the planet. He's got Ahsoka's... I think she just told him she is in Bo-Katan, just told Din what planet Ahsoka was on, right? Or did she give her coordinates?
No, she said a small city on the planet Corvus, which is where he goes.
Sick. Yep. Oh, that's what he said, Corvus. I could have swore when I was watching it that he said coordinates.
No, Corvus is the planet.
Hell yeah. Okay. That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, it's Corvus, I believe.
All right, I'm back on the Grogu train. He's a cute little guy. Took me a few episodes, but
I knew you'd get back. I knew you would.
Too. He's a sweet thing, especially like in this part where he doesn't have his pod anymore because of the he got thrown into that beast's maw in the last episode. So now he's just like sitting in the chair like a real person, and it's so cute.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, and we're back messing with the ball thing in the cockpit.
Yep.
He can't let that thing go. I love it.
He just loves it so much. Mm-hmm. But I don't think I really have anything till they land.
No, me neither.
Yeah. I mean, he lands, he goes and talks to the people. It's a pretty short sequence.
Yeah. Yeah, and the main important thing that I got from this part of the episode was that they actually originally hire him to kill Ahsoka.
Right, yeah. It had been bothering me because I couldn't remember why they fought prior to my rewatch. And it was just something that I thought about a lot. Like, why did they fight? That makes no sense. But now there's a perfectly logical reason.
Yeah, and it's in exchange for the spear.
Yeah, which is right up Din's alley.
Yeah, that's the bounty, which is interesting.
Trying to think what season is it's this season where we see Boba Fett's armor, right? Or was that the first season?
Yes. No, it is this season, and it's worn by the not the warden.
Cobb Vanth, is that it?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Thank you.
It was really bothering me that I couldn't remember his name.
I was like, he's the marshal guy of Mos Pelgo. What is his name? But thank you. Yeah.
Anyway, we see how important. Oh yeah, and this is also this season where people try to kill him for his armor, and then last season, obviously he's offered Beskar in exchange for the child. I really like what this series is doing about just showing how important Beskar is to the Mandalorian people.
Well, and it seems like it's that important to everyone. I mean, it seems like it is such a rare metal. It's literally the same thing as gold.
Yeah.
From the way that they talk about it.
Yeah.
Because I think you could pay anyone in Beskar with how bad someone wants it.
Right?
And I have a feeling too that it's probably not just used by the Mandalorians. Like I would guess, like in the real world with gold and how powerful of a conductor it is, and like, you know, for instance, like there's gold in your cell phone,
right,
and stuff like that. Like, I wonder if Beskar has a similar quality to it. Like maybe it's used for something else other than being armor.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, are there Star Wars currencies that are backed by Beskar? I just gotta know.
We're gonna get into some serious conspiracy theories here. Like, I could definitely see the Mandalorians using it as a form of currency at some point in their history.
Yeah. Well, because I was just thinking, like, in the real world, you know, like, there's some currencies that governments will back their currency with gold.
With gold, right.
You know, like, that's originally, like, what $1 was.
I think saying it can only be found on Mandalore, I don't know if there's enough of it to back a currency.
But also, we don't have that much gold in the world.
That is true.
Like, I mean, did you know we only have, like, it's not a lot. It's like we only have like 280,000 tons of gold, which sounds a lot. Like, sounds like a lot. But then, like, you got to think about, like, we've got close to 8 billion people on this planet.
Right.
And you've got, like, you know, 200 something different countries.
Right.
And so like, and also like we're all using it for electricity kind of stuff. Like, so there's actually not that much gold when you really think about it.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point.
So I wonder if it's kind of the same thing. I have no idea.
The whole galaxy. The Star Wars Illuminati uses Beskar.
Wouldn't that be wild?
Yeah. Okay, so he goes into the town. A couple things I wanted to point out was just how scared of him everyone was and how people were refusing to talk to him.
Oh, in the town, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you think that's because they were afraid of him because he's a Mandalorian? Or do you think it's because they're afraid of what Morgan's going to do to them if they're talking to a stranger?
I think it's the latter.
Yeah,
just
I think
because,
so too.
I mean, we see that she has 3 of them in these like electric torture pods or stands. She already told Ahsoka earlier in the episode that she would kill a certain number of them. I can't remember off the top of my head, but a lot of them if Ahsoka tried anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's definitely a bad guy.
Absolutely. And also, I think, isn't this the part where we see the Lothcat?
I can't remember. It might be
Din
here.
is walking through town, and then like the Lothcat, like you see it for a second, and it goes, "Rawr," and then it runs away.
Maybe, yeah. It might be. We might even get to see 2 or 3 Lothcats because I've got a note. The one I saw is during the final fight.
Maybe that's it. I don't remember, to be honest with you.
Either way, we love Lothcats on this channel, and Disney, you have the money to make them real. Just do it.
Just do it. Use some Beskar from your vault.
We know you've got it.
And
Don't
buy
lie.
us Lothcats. Yeah.
Oh, man. I wrote very minimal notes.
Yeah, well, because really, I mean, outside of the massive, not theory, but like reference things in this episode that we've mostly already talked about.
Yeah.
It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Really. So, yeah, I mean, I don't have a lot of notes either.
Right.
To be honest with you. Yeah.
I really like that Din tells the hired gun that he keeps Grogu around for luck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, really smart. Just not, you can't just walk around and be like, oh, yeah, this is my son and I love him. And if somebody were to get him, I'd be emotionally vulnerable.
Yeah, you'd have me wrapped around my finger if you took this little guy.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's just a trinket. It doesn't really matter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's smart. I mean, and clearly he's probably had to deal with people like that before. Probably has done nearly this exact same thing a couple of times.
For sure. Yeah. So as it progresses, he's walking through the forest and he finds these creatures and he's looking at it through his little binoculars. He's like, oh, never mind, just a little creature, we're safe. And then Ahsoka comes out swinging, no hesitation.
Yeah, but then also, like, he puts up a pretty decent fight.
He does, yeah. Which, I mean, I definitely think Ahsoka had the upper hand, but this...
I also don't think she was trying to kill him. Either,
right.
But, yeah.
But this, 5-10 second fight really showed off the fact that Mandalorians specifically designed their kit to kill Jedi.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I mean, on the other hand, though, I mean, we're talking about someone with, like, master levels of power. So, like, I think...
Right.
I don't think Din would actually stand a chance, but...
Oh,
again,
yeah, no.
I kind of think that it was more about... She was just doing that sort of to see, like, who he is and why he's there. And so she, like, attacked him more as, like, a probe.
Right.
Than she did, like, I'm gonna kill you.
I think we've talked about it. Like, the best Mandalorian could probably kill a mid to lower tier Jedi.
Yeah, like, it was only through their numbers.
Right.
Is how they were able to kill so many during the Mandalorian Jedi War.
I think we're talking, like, I mean, at the time of the Republic that we see in the prequel trilogy, there's 10,000 active Jedi. So I don't know how that compares to the Old Republic Jedi Mandalorian War, but I think it's probably safe to say that the number was similar.
And we could even, for simplicity, call it the same. Call it 10,000. I mean, I think that's probably fair.
Even if you double it and say there were 20,000, there was millions of Mandalorians. Like, they had a whole planet of just their people.
Yeah, and they all wanted to kill Jedi. Like,
Yeah,
all
yeah.
of them, yeah. Yeah, so I mean, like, that's why they were, because I mean, you're exactly right. Like, whether it's Din, like, let's even be theoretical. So Din, Pre Vizsla, Jango Fett, Boba Fett, and Mandalore the Great, right? If you were to combine everything about them into one Mandalorian, even that Mandalorian, I don't think could even take, well, and actually this guy's ridiculous powerful, but I don't think, like, even that theoretical guy could kill Yoda.
Yeah.
I don't even think that guy could kill, like, Plo Koon or Mace Windu either.
Right.
Like, he would need help. He would need a lot of help.
Yeah. And then back to Din and Ahsoka. Din is the only experience he's ever had with the Jedi are the few abilities that Grogu has shown him. Ahsoka has a Mandalorian kill count.
Yeah, and a decently high one.
Right.
Yeah, because I mean, we only see like a little bit of that siege,
Right.
in Clone Wars. When actually, I mean, she was there for a while.
Right.
You know, so
yeah. So he did his best. We still love him.
Mm-hmm. Oh, actually, one of my favorite parts is whenever he lassos her and he thinks that he got her.
Yeah.
And then she just like backflips over the tree and just like pulleys him up and over.
He didn't know. I think going forward, if we see him fight any more force sensitive beings, he'll definitely do better because he now has the experience. But it was still a great fight, and I really like how it ends, where he's like, Ahsoka Tano, Bo-Katan sent me, and it just like Ahsoka just stops for a second, and she's like, I hope it's about him.
Well, and also what I like too is I wonder also if like one of the reasons that she's probing him, like, who is this guy? Why is he here? Is I wonder if she like sensed Grogu immediately.
Yeah.
And that's how she was able to find them, and then maybe she assumed that Din kidnapped him or something.
Oh, yeah, that is true.
I was like,
She has
like,
no
who is
clue.
this guy with this little force sensitive, and like, why is he here? What is he
Right.
doing? Yeah.
Right. Which I think leads to my next question, and we may have talked about this a little on the podcast. I can't remember. Do you think Ahsoka knew Grogu from the temple?
I think it's been enough time where she probably had assumed that, I mean, like, even if she did know him, she definitely assumed he was dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, I think, like, in her mind, this was very likely another person. But the only reason I would say no is that, like, this is the episode where we hear Grogu's name for the first time, and it's because Ahsoka discovers it.
See,
She didn't already know that information.
that's what I thought. That's what I thought initially as well, but she doesn't specify that he told her.
Pretty sure she does.
She
Because
says,
Din's like, like, how are y'all communicating? Basically.
and she says, in a sense, oh, what does she say? It literally is just in my brain. Something along the lines of, we can sense each other's feelings, or maybe thoughts. It was just vague enough where it was like, okay, maybe Grogu could have told her, or maybe not.
Yeah, I will say, even if she did know him at the temple, it would also make sense that he was young enough that he couldn't have told her his name.
Right.
Whenever he was like in the temple. And so if she did know him, he was probably nameless for a long time.
Or his dad Yoda was like, hey, yo, this is my kid Grogu. Cutest little guy in the temple. Let's go.
It's my boy.
Oh, sorry. Cutest guy it is.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be yeah, Yoda and Yaddle's baby.
Yeah, and initially I was upset because this happens a little later, but kind of on the whole Grogu Yoda species thing, Ahsoka says, I've only known one other creature like him. And I was like, where's the disrespect for Yaddle? And then I remembered timeline-wise that Ahsoka was only like 4 when Yaddle died, so...
Yeah. Yeah, she may have not even been at the temple yet.
Right, and if she ever did meet Yaddle, there's no way 4-year-old Ahsoka remembers that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I literally, like, last night I was watching it like midnight because I was like, I'm not gonna have time to watch the episode tomorrow before we record. I've got to watch it now. So I was a little out of it. So I was really upset for Yaddle, and I did not remember until we started recording that I was like, oh yeah, no, Yaddle died.
Yeah. Oops.
Oopsie.
Yeah. We got to hear her talk for like 20 on-screen minutes, and then she died.
I'm sorry. This is not what this episode's about, but I'm still so mad that Yaddle talks normally.
I think I'm still deciding that it's some sort of grand prank on Yoda's part.
Yeah,
he's been doing it for hundreds of years. It's just the long con, dude.
Every century, he just like changes his accent or the way he speaks.
Yeah, he waits till like almost all the Jedi that knew him die, and then he just changes something.
Yep. A lot happens here. We also get a scene where she tries to train Grogu, and he won't take the rock. But then he takes the little ball thing from the ship from Din. Yeah.
Yeah, and also I think, too, it did a pretty good job of showing Grogu's trust issues.
Right.
Just because of what happened to him and whatnot. And that's why, like, with Ahsoka, whenever she tries to train him, he's just not giving her anything. Yeah. I think his survival mechanism is, I'm just a dumb baby. Like, don't, I'm clearly not a Jedi.
Baby boy. Dumb little baby boy.
Yeah, dumb little baby.
It'd be hilarious if, like, at the end of the Mandalorian movie, he was like, oh, yeah, actually, I was been able to talk this whole time. I didn't know if I could trust you.
That or also it's a long con, just like Yoda.
Just like his dad.
It's just 50 years of just nothing.
And I could just imagine, like, before Din found him, he was, like, talking to his captors normally, like, hey, yo, can I get a sandwich in here? I'm kind of hungry.
I would love, there's a guy on TikTok who does, like, quote unquote impressions, but then he always just does like a really thick New York Italian accent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love if that's how Grogu sounded. It's like, hey, I'm Grogu.
I'm a little guy.
I'm just a little fella.
Yeah,
that'd be very funny.
And it would make a lot of sense for the whole continuity of, like, Yoda became Grandmaster at 100 and Grogu's 50 and still kind of acting like a baby.
Yeah, that's true. But also, I mean, we just don't know how they age. I mean,
right.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure as you or Mac had like a almost like butterfly theory where not that he'd go in a cocoon, but like he'd just like rapidly age mentally at some point.
Yeah, he would just like, maybe the first 60 or 70 years is like the same thing in human years is like going from like 1 to 10.
Yeah.
And then those last 30 or 40 years are like the difference between 10 and 35.
Yeah. Well, do you have anything else here? I feel like there's more important things that happen. Oh, Ahsoka says she won't train Grogu. This happens here initially.
Yeah. And it's because she senses his fear and his anger.
Yeah. I'm so sorry. I asked if you had any other thoughts and then just immediately was like, oh, yeah, here's another thing.
No, you're good. I really didn't have anything to say. I'm glad you said something. Yeah.
Well, good. Yeah, and especially, again, just after watching Ahsoka, I feel like this scene has a lot more depth. Of course, there's the whole Anakin thing, but we learn that she was even too afraid to train Sabine.
Yeah. Yeah, and also she... that is something I wanted to say as far as why she won't train Grogu in this scene, because she says, I've seen what fear and anger like that can do to someone.
Yeah.
Like can do to someone with training or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And she's very clearly talking about Anakin.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought that was just another golden nugget in this.
Right. And I think
in
it's
this episode.
The line after, or it may even be towards the end of the episode, but I think it's here. She says, right after that, she says, it would be better to let his abilities fade, which I think is a really interesting Jedi or Force user lore tidbit that they dropped, that if you don't develop these skills, they will fade over time.
Yeah, also I wonder if it's less that they fade and more of, I wonder if they fade like mentally, like if so, like, you know, since Grogu is a baby,
yeah,
and he's not taught, maybe basically he'll forget, and then also he'll cut himself off from the Force unknowingly because he forgot.
Right. I think it's a good answer to the question that I think a lot of Star Wars have had, myself included, is like, there's no way the Jedi were able to find all of the Force-sensitive children. Like, why isn't there just some, like, random maniac out there using the Force abilities for his own personal gain? Not necessarily a Sith, but, you know, just you're way more powerful than anyone else around you.
Yeah.
And I think this answers that question, is if you don't develop it, it kind of just goes away. Yeah,
I will actually just connect some dots here with what I said with I wonder if it's more of like they don't lose the power physically, they just kind of forget that they have
how
them.
They can do it. Yeah, for sure.
And then they cut themselves off from the Force unknowingly. I wonder too if that's why it's so important to the Jedi, or one of the reasons that it's so important to the Jedi to get them when they're little.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because they aren't old enough to have faded.
Right.
As well as, you know, making sure they don't have attachments and stuff. But I wonder if that's part of it. If it's just that's when they are most powerful and able to be trained.
It would make the Jedi or evil camp's arguments a little less effective.
Yeah, also too, I mean, you know I'm a Jedi stan, dude.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I'm just adding that to my file of things that make me feel good about the Jedi.
No, do it. And I like giving the Jedi a hard time, but I love the Jedi too.
Mm-hmm. They're so cool,
right?
Yeah.
And then Ahsoka and Din make a deal. I will train the baby if you help me, you know, free this town. And then they go kick a lot of butt, just a lot of butt.
Yeah. And again, it's another Star Wars episode that just does a really good job at being like using things that inspired the original idea for Star Wars.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, chiefly Westerns and samurai movies.
Yeah.
This does a great job at doing elements of both.
Right, like Ahsoka walking in by herself and throwing Din's pauldron down on the ground was such a great scene, and I think it goes directly into what you're saying of just like that Western kind of samurai inspiration. Yeah,
well, and that's what I would say is like a good like samurai part of the episode. But then like a good Western part of the episode is when Din is fighting in town, and he's you know he's unholstering his gun, he's shooting that guy who's on the roof, and he's, you know, turning around and just like gunfight. And then like at the end of the episode when him and the mercenary are talking, and then the mercenary puts his gun down and he tries to like secretly reach for his other gun, and then Din just shoots him. Like, that's such a Western thing. Like I loved that.
Even like such a minor detail here, but like Din pulls his hand away just a little bit to give the guy hope that he has a chance, and still
That's
gets
so Western.
Him. Yeah,
it's so Western. I love it. Like, I mean, you could almost put Clint Eastwood in that same part, shot for shot. Mm-hmm. Like you almost could.
Yeah, a great scene. And I love that they're like him and the mercenaries' conversation as they're talking, and the mercenaries like, your side could win, my side could win, and he's like kind of stepping closer, and Morgan loses, and he's like, guess your side won, and before he starts putting his blaster down, and it's just shot so good.
And that's also too the bad guy negotiating and then trying to turn on the good guy. That's so Western.
And I realized
also with Ahsoka and Morgan's fight, like that, the whole thing is very just samurai like, where it's like, I challenge you because you dishonored me, and you're hurting these people, and I can't let you do that, and all that stuff. It's awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
No, and the mercenary, his blaster, I think it's a shotgun. He only fires it once, and it almost looked like it had lasers going out in multiple directions.
I didn't pay close enough attention to see that.
Yeah, and I could be wrong, but it was a super unique blaster that I don't think I've seen before. Which if inspired more by shotguns, it would make sense why he was slowly trying to get closer to Din.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe it was just a really thick laser.
With like 4 C's on that.
Exactly. This guy gets it. But yes, I really love Morgan and Ahsoka's fight as well. Dude, when Morgan knocked Ahsoka's main lightsaber out of her hand, I started sweating a little bit. I was like, are they just gonna bring live action Ahsoka to us and then kill her off?
Yeah, and also I thought that was wild, because I don't think we ever see someone disarm Ahsoka.
Right, yeah.
Even when she's like a little girl, even when she's a Padawan, I don't think anyone ever disarms her.
Yeah.
Other than, I think Anakin does in the Ahsoka show.
Right.
In one of the dreams, but
that's still later. We got time.
Yeah, that's whatever.
Okay, you brought up the droids. It was so cool, because I did not put 2 and 2 together when I was watching the Ahsoka series that these are the exact same droids.
Yeah, they walk the same. They've got the same, kind of squarish build to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the only difference is that these they have some sort of clothing on.
Yeah, when I know in the Ahsoka series it's mentioned that those robots were, not that they were made illegal, I forget what they say. That they're not allowed to be combat droids anymore.
Right.
And then that's how she gets caught in the Ahsoka show. Or that's how her shipyard gets caught.
Right.
Is because that one is a combat droid. And so I wonder too if this is part of the reason for that.
Yeah.
I wonder if this is one of the last times that they were allowed to be security droids. And then the New Republic finds out about it. It's like, no, no, we're not doing that again. Yeah.
Not these boyos. And then during the fight also, we get the first live action mention of Grand Admiral Thrawn.
Yeah, that's true.
Prior to this, just for our listeners, he did appear in a couple seasons of Rebels, but I think that's the only other time we've seen him, aside from the novels, in Star Wars canon. So I was hyped when I heard this line.
Yeah, no, I remember, because this, I think, in context of the time, wasn't this kind of when we were really wondering who the big bad was gonna be?
Yeah, I think so. And that kind of just opened, just like, oh yeah, here he is. Hope you're ready.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And also the hope of maybe we get live action Ezra too.
Yeah, that was wild, man.
It's so cool being on this side of it, where Thrawn is back now, Ezra's back. We had the Ahsoka series. We've been to another galaxy. Star Wars has just come so far since when season 2 came out.
Yeah, it really has, and I'm pretty impressed with how easily they have been able to make everything make sense.
Yeah.
Because they've very clearly been systematically planning everything. this whole time. And I love that. That's just good. That's just good quality entertainment. I am proud of what Disney has done in the past couple of years.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna say it.
Same.
Like I was very disappointed there for a while, but they have won me back.
Same. And same thing with Disney, but Kathleen Kennedy too. We've mentioned it on the podcast, but some of the worst Star Wars has come from her, and also some of the best.
Yeah, I mean, in all honesty, some of my favorite Star Wars of all time, like even as a lifelong fan, and not even just a lifelong fan, but a lifelong fan who wasn't just a movie fan.
Right. Yeah.
But Kathleen Kennedy has, under her administration, has created some of my favorite Star Wars.
Yeah.
In the past 26 years I've been alive.
Yeah. So, and I feel kind of bad for how much hate she got.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there for a while she deserved it.
Yeah.
I was one of the people too. I was very, very disappointed.
Yeah. Oh,
very
same.
disappointed. Yeah.
Aside from us recording on the sequel trilogy because we had to, or not that we had to, but that was like part of the schedule and everything. I have never rewatched the sequels.
And I don't think I will. Either,
yeah.
To be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because I still have not forgiven them yet.
Yeah.
I think maybe I will one day. Maybe when I have children and I feel like they should watch it just because it's Star Wars, maybe I'll forgive the sequels then.
Right. Once
But
you can watch it in all chronological order. Yeah.
Yeah. Not
same.
there yet. Yeah.
There's not really a lot else. They beat the guys. The only other note that I have is after they've saved the day, they've freed the town, Ahsoka follows Din to his ship, which I'm sure pissed Din off because he's like, hey, I'll bring the kid back. But she tells him, I can't train the kid. But if you go to Tython, is it Tython? I believe it's Tython.
And set him on the stone. Yeah.
Set him on the stone. Maybe another Jedi will come find him, which was really cool because, like, in old EU lore, Tython was the original Jedi planet, I believe, or one of their original planets.
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah. So, again, just another thing where I was like, wait, that's so cool. They're doing it? They're saying the thing?
Yeah, and also, isn't that... I mean, of course, I guess it's not canon, like it's never confirmed, but wasn't there a theory, too, for a long time that that's also something that happened to Ahsoka as a little child, that she reached out, and then that's how Plo Koon found her?
Yeah, I think that's correct.
And this was before Tales of the Jedi came out, so like I said, it's not canon, but
right.
It is interesting. Yeah.
Tales of the Jedi, like, I think that story with Plo Koon could still be canon because it ends with her village finding out that she's a Jedi, and then one of the slavers come and says, oh, I'm a Jedi, I'll take the kid. And then Ahsoka reaches out, and Plo Koon comes and gets her. So I think...
So you mean chronologically it hadn't happened yet? Okay.
Right. Because she was only a year old at this point, because I think, like, the whole tiger thing was supposed to be, like, her birthday, learning about life and death, and...
Yeah. Well, and also, I didn't think about this, but I don't think the Jedi don't take babies.
Right.
They wait until they're, like... On screen, they appear to be, like, maybe 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
Which maybe that's for the family's sake. You don't want to just be like, oh, hey, I know you just had the kid, but yoink.
Yeah, well, and maybe, again, with the fading thing, they wait until the last possible amount of time to take them, like out of respect and like trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
The Jedi are good.
Jedi are great. Oh, Ahsoka also gives Din the Beskar spear, which I love his response there, where he's like, "But I didn't earn this," and she's like, "It belongs in the hand of a Mandalorian," which I thought was great. But Yeah, I think that's everything I have. Do you have anything else?
No. Oh, and I guess one quick thing. I mean, I promise this is the last note on this I have.
We can go on another 50-minute tangent if you need.
No. This is the last note I have on this, because I know I've been kind of harping on this all episode, just because it's really cool to me.
Yeah, no,
like how how in this episode, like it's like with the samurai movie and the Western movie thing, like happening even in the same fight. One thing I noticed too is during Ahsoka and Morgan's fight, like what country does that garden look like?
Yeah.
Like it kind of looks a little bit like a Japanese garden in Star Wars. I just thought that was cool, and also the lighting's different. Did you realize that?
Yeah, from in the garden. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like it's more.
It's brighter.
It's brighter, and in Mandalorian and the mercenaries fight, it's more of like a tan kind of dirty color. Mm-hmm. And that's just also just much more of a Western vibe. But yeah, I promise I'll shut up about it. But I thought that was just really, really cool. And so I just had to say something.
I think top 3 easily Mandalorian episodes.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
I'll have to wait and see till we've completely rewatched the series. But I feel pretty confident saying top 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, like we mentioned at the beginning of this episode, this was just such a good episode for lore and storytelling, and the action was great. Like T. Nell said, we got great Western and samurai references, just like peak Star Wars.
Yeah, well, and how'd you feel as like an actual professional with real opinions? Like, how'd you feel about like the videography and stuff like in this episode? Like, did you think it was, because I thought it was awesome, but I don't know about the technicalities of that kind of stuff.
No, it was great. Like I said, like you mentioned, the lighting, they did just phenomenal. Shot wise, they did really good. My favorites are, like I mentioned earlier, the where they hide the dismemberment, just to make it a little more tasteful. And I think they did really good on all the action sequences. Yeah, I don't have any complaints. There are a couple times in Star Wars where I'm like, I don't know if I would have shot it that way, but that happens pretty rarely.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure too. I mean, like, as someone who actually knows, like, I bet you'd be hard pressed to watch anything and not have some opinion about it.
Yeah,
I get it.
It's kind of ruined watching TV for me sometimes.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's seriously how I feel about like action movies.
Yeah.
Sometimes, I mean, like sometimes we watch them and like, dude, that does not work like that. Like,
yeah,
that doesn't make any sense,
Right.
Yeah.
No, but I'm learning. Kind of the further I get from it, the more I'm able to kind of turn my brain off. But like even just like scripts, a lot of scripts follow a basic format, and so you can kind of just like, just thinking about it in your brain, you're like, okay, then this is gonna happen. But yeah, I'm getting there. I'm shutting my brain off. Return
we
to
will all
mush.
heal with time.
Yes. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching or listening. I swear I'm going to stop making that mistake at some point. Maybe some of you are watching. You're in our walls right now.
I hope so.
I hope so. We really do appreciate each and every one of you. If you want to be a part of this conversation, you can email us at animalsquadron@gmail.com. Again, that is animalsquadron@gmail.com. If you're listening on Spotify, the question of the week will just be what you thought of The Mandalorian Chapter 13. Also, if you go back to our Chapter 12 episode, we've got a poll running on if Grogu was a stinky little baby boy that you can vote in. And if you're listening somewhere where you can leave us a review, we'd really appreciate it. It helps us out a ton. For the Animal Squadron, this has been Mother Goose.
And Lowtech Tough.
Goodbye, everybody.
Adios.